Hello, my name is Mohammed Ghaznavi, and I will be discussing today in details about IELTS reading, and the techniques that we'll be discussing will be useful for true, false, and not given type of question. If you are a student who is struggling hard to understand how to solve true, false, and not given type of question, so this video is for you. As most of the students from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, they are having this problem to understand the not given thing. So in this video, I'm going to discuss with you that how can you settle your true, false, and not given conspiracy. So here we go. So you can see on the screen right now, we have the first question. So first of all, with regard to the time management, you have to do one thing is to understand the keywords. Let's say in this part of the question, I would say build up fat under the skin can be the keywords. You can just mark that word over here and try to retain that information. Then the next part of the question, this is a study, it's easy to find. The third part of the question is something that they make a comparison between the bears, polar bears and the brown bears. And then fourth question, as you can see that the bad cholesterol is the keywords over here. The fifth one, we have the female bear, polar bear that can survive without food. So without food can be the keyword. Number 7 question, let's say, okay, the polar bear's mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by people. So that thing can be used by the people. So we can just write it down, polar bear's mechanism as a keyword over here. Then we go to the paragraph and we'll try to find the answer to the question and the location. So what you have to do is to read it quickly. You should not start reading over here. Just try to find the keywords, whatever you believe is important keyword, you can write it down. So I just found one of the keyword over here under their skin. I can label it, let's say question 1. So you have to read the question and then go to the text and try to find the answer over here. Do you remember the question, by the way? What was the question? So it's important for you to read the question. I don't know how many of you would be able to recall the question right now, but it's important for you to retain the question. Sometimes we forget. We just remember the keyword and we forget the question. So it is quite important for you to remember the question. Okay. So we can see from here to extreme condition from the Arctic where temperature can lead to minus 40 degrees centigrade, 11 centimeter of fat under the skin. Human with comparative levels of this adipose tissue would be considered obese and would likely to suffer from diseases and heart disease. Yet the polar bear experienced no such consequences. So by the way, if you recall the question, you can see that they were saying something related to the polar bear. So here we can see there from the line that I just have read. From here you can go to the question now and try to understand if it's true, false, or not given. Polar bear suffers from various health problems due to buildup of fat under the skin. And what was written in the text? In the text, it was mentioned that humans, if they could have the same, like tissue or the skin, they would suffer from a lot of diseases. But in this case, the polar bears, they don't have any consequences. So this information can be considered as a false. So we would write it down false over here. Now we can go to the next question. The study done by this scientist. So we can go to that scientist name directly. And what is the main keyword of here that this scientists compare different group of polar bears. So important to understand that we may have a different groups of polar bear. Now polar bear is different category and brown bear is a different category. If they would have make a comparison, if you can see that there will be a comparison between polar bear and brown bear. That is not related to this question, right? But just to give you insight on that, let's see. We can go to the question. So this was the first question that we have done. Now this is the name of scientists. They compare the genetic structure of polar bears with that of their closest relative from a warmer climate with brown bears. So by the way, here they are saying that the scientists make a comparison between different group of polar bears. And in the text, it was mentioned that they have made a comparison between polar bears and the brown bears. So it would be false, yes. Now we can see the next one. They were first one to compare polar bear and brown bear genetically. We can go to the paragraph again from the same location. It was written over here, by the way. You can see there. We can read it quickly. By the way, still now we cannot find any information whether they were first or not. But it is important for you to understand that you have to make the boundaries. Let's say we believe that these two questions are false. Now, we are not sure about this question and we believe it could be not given. We'll try to find question number 4 now. Polar bears are able to control their level of bad cholesterol by genetic means. So now we can go to the question number 4. I'll try to find the bad cholesterol, keeping the question in mind. So we can have LLD that is related to the cholesterol. Anyhow, we can see I was also able to find the bad cholesterol while I was going up. So this is the right way for you. When you are going for skimming and scanning, just randomly look for the keyword that you're looking for rather than reading the line. Right? You have to practice your brain. You have to simulate yourself in this way that you will be able to find the keywords. Anyhow, this is the keyword, so we can read it from here. Polar bear had a gene known as APOB, which reduced level of low-density ibuproteins, LDLs, a form of bad cholesterol. So you can see the question was basically the same. I think it's true. Either way, you can read the question again. Polar bears are able to control their level of bad cholesterol by genetic means. So it's true, by the way. It's written there. So female polar bears are able to survive for about 6 months without food. So we need to find the female polar bears and 6 months, right? Before we can have the answer. From the same location, that was the bad cholesterol. So from here, try to find the 6 months. I believe that you would be more faster than me and you can find the 6 month. I found a female bear, by the way, over here. And I can find the 6 month as well. Yes, this would be the right technique for you to look at quickly to find the 6 months and the right keywords. Anyhow, we can start reading from here. From this line, we can see like the context in the mind. The process resulted in about 6 months of fasting, where the female bears have been keeping themselves and their cubs alive, depleting their own calcium. So again, you can see the same information written in the text and the same information inside in the question. So what the question was, female polar bears are able to survive for about 6 months. So it was written very clearly. If you can see right now on the screen, this is a transition time, by the way, you should not have to do in the real exam. But what's written there, this process, whatever the process is, the female will dig maternity dens in the snow and will remain there throughout the winter, both before and after birth of their cubs, right? This process will take 6 months of fasting, like female bear is not able to eat anything, where the female bears have to keep themselves and their cubs alive, depleting their own calcium and calories reserve. Despite this, their bones remain strong and dense. So by the way, you can see, maybe you were able to understand the question now. They were saying that female bears are able to survive about 6 months without food. So it was 100% right information. It was found that the bones of female polar bear were very weak when they keep out of the dens in spring. So it was although there that we just read, but we'll try to find the word spring as well. It's written there that despite this, their bones remain strong and dense. They have not written anything about a spring. Just to have a quick look on the spring as well. So now you can see it's something that is written in the both paragraph. We'll try to find the answer to this question. The question is, it was found that bones of female polar bears were weak when they came out of the dens in spring. So it can be considered as a right answer. So when we can see the question number 6, it was found that bones of female polar bear were weak when they came out of their dens in spring. So from here, when we can go to the question, it was opposite. Like the statement that we just have read. Despite this, their bones remain strong and dense. So despite normally is being used for contrast. You can learn this line like despite, in spite, although. It will be very helpful for you to use in your writing part, right? Anyhow, so it's basically a false. Then we have the last one. The polar bear mechanism for increasing bone density could also be used by people one day. So anticipation, the future modeling that can be done. So by the way, when you read it, hibernating brown bears do not have this capacity and must therefore resort to measure bone information in the following spring, right? If mechanism of bone remodeling in polar bear can be understood. Many bedridden humans. Yeah, it's something that is a possibility. So we can see there that can be considered as an answer. That is the polar bear mechanism for increasing could also be used by one day. Yes, it's anticipation, so it can be true. So you can see in this way, this is a mechanism for you to understand that how can you go for true, false, and not given. Remember that the true in context should be 100% matching information. False in context again, contrasting information. And not given is not given. You have to make a boundary between two questions to find the not given if you have the question that is in between few of the questions, such as if this is question number 1, by the way, that's difficult for you then. But let's say if your question number 1 is true, false, and then you were able to find the question number 3 as well, and you were not able to find question 2. So basically, not given is being best done if you make the boundaries. For the sake of example, right now we can see on the screen we have 7 questions. If question number 1 was, let's say, false, and you were not able to find question number 2, and you were able to find question number 3, but you have to mark the boundaries. In between the boundary of 1 and 3, you need to find question number 2. If you won't be able to find if it's true or false, then it should be not given. But remember that even these techniques will not be effective if you won't be able to work on your understanding area. So it is quite important for you to work on your language understanding. So I hope that it would be helpful for you to understand the concept of true, false, and not given. If you still have any question, queries, just write down in the comment section. We'll try to help you to understand the concept between true, false, and not given. And yes, in the coming videos, we'll be discussing about the list of writing, the way it can be helpful for you to get it done. I hope that it will be easy thing for you now to get true, false, and not given. Thank you.